The large research ship Dauntless floated silently in the darkness of space. Through the main window, Dr. June Kim watched as the alien ship grew larger. It was at least 10 times bigger than their own vessel, with smooth sides that shined like wet metal in the light of a distant star. "It's amazing," June said, his eyes wide with wonder. He had studied alien life for 15 years, but this was his first time meeting a new species face to face. Dr. Hannah Park stood beside him, her face more serious. She tapped on her tablet, reviewing the data they had collected so far about the aliens called the Vren. "Remember to be careful," she told June. "We know very little about them." June smiled. "You worry too much, Hannah. This is a historic day. Humans meeting the Vren for the first time. Think of all we can learn from each other." Captain Hyun Lee's voice came through the ship's speakers. "All senior staff report to the shuttle bay. We will board the Vren ship in 30 minutes. The team gathered quickly. Besides June and Hannah, there were 5 other crew members chosen for first contact. Captain Lee gave them all a final warning. "Follow all protocols. No sudden movements. Speak only when spoken to. Our goal is peace and knowledge exchange, not to cause problems." The shuttle ride to the alien ship was short but tense. No one spoke much. Even June, usually so talkative, sat quietly and stared out the window. As they approached, large doors opened on the side of the Vren ship. "They're letting us in," the pilot said, guiding the small craft into a vast, brightly lit bay. When the doors of their shuttle opened, the humans were hit with strange smells, like a mix of salt water and something sweet. The air felt heavier than on their ship. 5 tall figures waited for them. The Vren stood on 4 legs, with long bodies covered in small scales that changed color slightly as they moved. They had 2 arms ending in hands with 3 fingers each. Their heads were oval-shaped with 4 eyes, 2 large ones in front, and 2 smaller ones on the sides. One Vren stepped forward. Its scales shifted to a deep blue color. A small device on its chest blinked. "Welcome, humans of Earth," it said, its voice coming through the translation device. "I am High Commander Tevik. We are pleased to meet your kind at last." Captain Lee bowed slightly. "We thank you for this opportunity. I am Captain Hyun Lee of the research vessel Dauntless." He introduced each member of his team. When he came to June, the scientist stepped forward eagerly. "It is a great honor to meet you. We have so many questions about your culture and biology." The Vren's top eyes blinked slowly. "There will be time for questions. First, we will have the greeting ceremony in the Grand Hall. Please follow." The humans walked behind the aliens through long hallways that curved gently. More Vren watched them pass, their scales rippling with colors that June guessed might show their emotions. The Grand Hall was a massive room with a high ceiling covered in what looked like moving pictures of stars and planets. In the center was a round table made of a material that seemed almost like liquid glass. "Please stand around the table," Commander Tevik said. "We will perform the unity ritual, which begins all new relationships." The humans positioned themselves as asked. Several Vren attendants brought out a large object that looked like a crystal bowl with many sharp edges. Inside was a glowing blue liquid. "This is the essence of understanding," Tevik explained. "Each representative will touch it and speak their name and purpose." When it was June's turn, he reached for the bowl eagerly. His finger brushed against one of the sharp crystal edges. "Ouch," he said, pulling back his hand. A small cut had opened on his finger, and a single drop of blood welled up. Before anyone could react, the drop fell from his finger and landed on the arm of a nearby Vren attendant. What happened next seemed to occur in slow motion. Where June's blood touched the alien's skin, a hissing sound filled the air. The Vren scales began to bubble and melt like wax under a flame. The alien let out a high-pitched scream that made the humans cover their ears. "It burns, it burns!" the Vren cried, falling to the ground and thrashing. The other aliens backed away in horror, their scales flashing bright red and yellow. "What is happening?" Captain Lee demanded. But the Vren were no longer listening. To the humans, Commander Tevik shouted orders in their native language. Suddenly, clear walls dropped from the ceiling surrounding the human delegation. You are contained, Tevik said, its voice now cold with fear. Do not move. You carry death in your veins. Inside their transparent prison, the humans looked at each other in shock. My blood, June whispered, staring at his finger in disbelief. My blood hurt it. Hana grabbed his hand and wrapped it quickly with a cloth from her pocket. Don't let any more blood touch anything, she warned. Captain Lee tried to communicate with the Vren, but they had moved away to a safe distance and were talking rapidly among themselves. I can hear some of what they're saying, said Su-jin, their communications specialist who had been working on learning the Vren language. They're calling us the Burning Ones. They're debating whether to kill us now or study us first. This is impossible, June said. How can human blood be harmful to them? It's just normal blood. Apparently not to them, Hana said quietly. Think about it. We evolved on Earth with our own bacteria, viruses, and chemistry. Our biology is completely alien to them, just as theirs is to us. Through the clear walls, they could see more Vren entering the hall, these ones wearing what looked like protective suits. The injured attendant was being taken away on a floating platform, still writhing in pain. Commander Tevik approached the barrier, now also wearing protection. Your blood is a weapon, it said. It dissolves our flesh. How did you hide this from our scans? We didn't know, Captain Lee said truthfully. This is as surprising to us as it is to you. It was an accident. A convenient accident, another Vren said. Perhaps they came to test their weapon on us. No. June stepped forward. We came in peace. I'm a scientist. I want to understand why this happened. The Vren's four eyes narrowed. You will remain contained while we decide your fate. The Council of Species must be informed of this development. As the aliens moved away again, Captain Lee gathered his team close. This is bad, he said quietly. Very bad. If they see our blood as a biological weapon, they might never trust us. Or worse, Hana added, they might see all humans as a threat to be eliminated. June looked at his bandaged finger, his earlier excitement now replaced with dread. I never imagined our first meeting with the Vren would turn out like this. Something as simple as blood. Through the ship's communication systems, they heard urgent messages being sent out to other Vren vessels. Words like quarantine, biological hazard, and weapon species could be made out. They're spreading the word, Su-jin said, her face pale. Telling other aliens about us, about our blood. We need to get back to our ship, Captain Lee said. We need to warn Earth. But as they looked around at their transparent prison, surrounded by increasingly hostile aliens, they all realized the same thing. Getting home might not be so easy anymore. Outside their containment, the Vren gathered in greater numbers, all staring at the humans with what could only be described as fear. The day that was supposed to mark humanity's first step into a larger galactic community had instead revealed something none of them could have predicted. Human blood burned alien flesh. And now the entire galaxy would know. 3 days had passed since the blood incident. The humans from the Dauntless remained trapped in their clear prison on the Vren ship. They were given food and water, but no one would talk to them directly. The aliens now wore full protective suits whenever they came near. Captain Hyun Lee paced back and forth in the small space. We need to contact our ship, he said for the 100th time. Su-jin sat cross-legged on the floor, her eyes closed as she listened to the Vren communications through a small device in her ear. Her eyes suddenly opened wide. Captain, you need to hear this, she said urgently. 3 different alien fleets are heading this way. The Vren have told other species about us, about our blood. There's a bounty now, for any human, dead or alive. Dr. Jun Kim looked up from where he had been, writing notes. A bounty? But why? It was an accident. They're afraid, Dr. Hana Park said simply. Our blood hurts them badly. They see us as walking weapons. A loud alarm suddenly blared through the ship. The Vren began running in all directions. What's happening? Captain Lee asked. Su-jin listened to her device again. Our ship, Captain. The Dauntless is attacking the Vren vessel. They're trying to rescue us. The floor beneath them shook as something hit the larger alien ship. Moments later, the clear walls around them flickered and disappeared. The power is down, Hana said. This is our chance. Captain Lee didn't waste time. Move. Head for the shuttle bay. The 5 humans ran through the hallways of the Vren ship. Confusion was everywhere. Alarm lights flashed red and blue. When they reached the shuttle bay, they found their small craft still there but heavily guarded by 4 armed Vren soldiers. We can't fight them, June whispered. Captain Lee looked around quickly and spotted a control panel. Sujin, can you read any of that? She nodded. Some of it. I think that controls the bay doors. Good. On my signal, run for the shuttle. I'll create a distraction. Before anyone could stop him, Captain Lee cut his palm with a small knife from his pocket. The sight of his blood made the others gasp. He ran forward and flung the blood toward the Vren guards, careful not to get too close. The droplets landed near the aliens, who jumped back in panic, screaming in their language. In the confusion, the humans made a dash for their shuttle. Once, inside, Sujin quickly started the engines while the others strapped in. The bay doors were still closed. The panel, Captain Lee shouted. Hana grabbed a metal tool from the wall and threw it hard. It hit the control panel, smashing it. Sparks flew and the large bay doors began to open slowly. Go, go, Captain Lee urged. The shuttle shot out into space just as more Vren poured into the bay. In the distance, they could see their ship, the Dauntless, exchanging fire with the much larger Vren vessel. Captain Lee to Dauntless, he called into the radio. We're free and heading your way. Copy that, came the reply. Be advised, we have multiple hostile ships approaching. Prepare for immediate jump once you're aboard. The small shuttle raced toward the research ship, dodging energy blast from the Vren. When they finally docked, Captain Lee and his team rushed to the bridge. There, they found chaos. The ship's weapons officer, Jin Ho, was directing defensive fire while the pilot, Young Soo, worked frantically at the controls. Status report, Captain Lee demanded. Not good, sir, Jin Ho replied. 3 alien battle fleets are less than an hour away. The Vren have sent messages calling us a dangerous species. They've shared scans of our blood's effect on their biology. Captain Lee looked at the tactical display. The Dauntless was fast, but not fast enough to outrun an entire fleet. We need to split up, he decided. The Dauntless will head back to Earth with most of the crew. We must warn our people a smaller team will take the scout vessel and create a diversion. I'll lead the second team, said Security Chief Dae-yoon, a tall man with a serious face who had been quietly standing by the door. It's extremely dangerous, Captain Lee warned. That's why I should go, Dae replied. My job is to protect this ship and our planet. Captain Lee nodded. Take Sujin with you. Her communication skills will be vital. Choose 3 more crew members and prepare to launch in 20 minutes. While the preparations were made, June and Hana worked in the lab, quickly analyzing the blood samples they had brought back. It doesn't make sense, June said, looking through a microscope. Our blood is just normal human blood, iron-based hemoglobin, plasma, white cells. But clearly something in it reacts with Vren biology, Hana replied. Like a powerful acid. To them. The ship shook as it took another hit from the Vren vessel. No more time for research now, June said, saving their data. We need to get this information back to Earth. On the bridge, Captain Lee watched as Dae's scout ship detached from the Dauntless. It was much smaller, but faster and more maneuverable. Good luck, he said quietly. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. The Dauntless turned and accelerated away from the battle, while the scout ship headed in the opposite direction, firing its weapons to draw attention. On the scout ship, Dae-yoon took the captain's chair. Besides him and Sujin, he had chosen 3 experienced crew members, a pilot, an engineer, and a medical officer. Our job is simple, he told them. Make noise, draw attention, and stay alive long enough for the Dauntless to get safely away. Sue. Jin sat at the communications console monitoring alien transmissions. Sir, I'm picking up something strange, she said after a few minutes. The Vren are talking about Earth. They say they've been watching us for months. Day frowned. Can you get more details? She listened carefully. They've already sent stealth ships toward Earth. They were studying us before this incident, and now they're accelerating their plans. We need to warn the Dauntless, Day said, but Sujin shook her head. Too risky. Any transmission might give away their position to the enemy fleets. Day hit the arm of his chair in frustration. Then Sujin's console beeped again. Sir, we're receiving a message on an unusual frequency. It's not from the Vren or any fleet we've identified. Put it through, Day ordered. A voice spoke in broken English. Human vessel. We offer help. Safe haven. We are outcasts. Who are you? Day asked suspiciously. Coalition of species. Persecuted by dominant powers. We monitor Vren communications. Know what happened? Can offer sanctuary. Day looked at his small crew. Their chances of survival were slim without help. Send coordinates, he decided. Meanwhile on Earth, scientist Ji-woo sat in her mountain laboratory, far from any city. She was analyzing strange signals her equipment had detected coming from deep space. These patterns can't be natural, she muttered to herself, staring at her computer screen. Then, hidden among the cosmic noise, she found something that made her heart race. Fragments of a distress signal in English. Words like danger, alien, and blood appeared in the broken message. She immediately reached for her phone and called an old friend. Min, it's Ji-woo. I need to see you immediately. It's about that project we discussed years ago, the one about visitors from the stars. I think they're coming and not for a friendly visit. Colonel Min Park, sitting in his office at the military headquarters, listened carefully to his old colleague. I'll be there in 3 hours, he said. Don't share this with anyone else. As he hung up, Min looked out his window at the clear blue sky, wondering how much longer Earth's peace would last. Something told him everything was about to change. Ji-woo's laboratory sat high in the mountains, far from the nearest town. It was built of concrete and steel, with large satellite dishes on the roof. Inside, computers hummed and screens showed data from space. Colonel Min Park arrived as promised, 3 hours after their call. He wore plain clothes instead of his uniform to avoid attention. His face was serious as Ji-woo showed him the strange signals. I've cleaned up the message as much as possible, she said, typing on her keyboard. Listen, a scratchy voice came through the speakers. Earth, danger, blood burns, alien fleet, prepare, defense. Could be a hoax, Min said, but his eyes told Ji-woo he didn't believe that. I checked every possible explanation, she replied. This came from deep space, Min, and it matches exactly what we've feared might happen one day. Min nodded slowly. What do you need? People I can trust. Scientists, soldiers. We need to prepare just in case. The government won't act without more proof, Min warned. Then we work with what we have, Ji-woo said firmly. I'm not waiting until it's too late. Within 2 days, Min brought 5 people to the lab. 2 soldiers he trusted completely, a biologist, a communications expert, and a weapons specialist. Ji-woo explained what they knew, which wasn't much. Some of them looked doubtful, but they agreed to help. First, we need to understand what the message meant by blood burns, Ji-woo said. Let's start by analyzing human blood in every way possible. The biologist, Dr. Jun Choi, set up equipment to break down blood samples from each person in the R group. They worked day and night looking for anything unusual. On the 3rd day, Jun called everyone to his workstation, excitement in his voice. I found something, he said. There's a protein in our blood that behaves strangely when exposed to oxygen outside the body. Watch. He placed a drop of blood on a special plate and added a chemical. The blood began to bubble and give off heat. The protein changes when it leaves our bodies, Jun explained in simple terms. It becomes highly reactive with certain organic compounds. To aliens with different biology, this could be like a powerful acid. You're saying our blood is toxic to aliens? Min asked. Potentially, yes, Jun nodded. If their biology is different, enough from ours. Ji-woo stared at the bubbling blood sample. This could be both a curse and a blessing. if aliens are coming to attack us. Knowing this weakness gives us a way to defend ourselves. We could create weapons, said Kim, one of the soldiers. Blood-based defenses. First, we need to see if we can produce this protein artificially, June said. We can't use actual human blood for large-scale defense. They set up new experiments, trying to synthesize the protein. Progress was slow but steady. June managed to create a small amount of artificial protein that showed the same properties as the one in human blood. Ji-woo was working late one night when the lab's security alarm suddenly blared to life. She ran to the monitor room where Min was already checking the cameras. "We have intruders," he said, his voice tight. "They don't look human." The security feeds showed 5 figures moving through the trees toward the lab. They walked on 2 legs but were too tall and thin to be human. Their heads were oddly shaped, with no visible ears and large, dark eyes. "Aliens," Ji-woo whispered. "They found us." "How?" Min demanded. "The signal," she realized. "When we cleaned it up and played it, we also sent out a response without knowing it. They tracked us here." Min grabbed his gun. "Wake everyone. We need to evacuate now." The small team gathered quickly, grabbing only the most important research materials. Jun carefully packed the synthetic protein samples. "The back tunnel," Ji-woo said. "We can escape through the mountain." They were halfway to the tunnel when the lab's outer doors exploded inward. Strange weapons fired, sending blue energy bolts through the air. Kim and the other soldier Lee returned fire with their guns. "Go!" Min shouted to the scientists. "We'll hold them off." Jun, Ji-woo, and the others ran toward the tunnel entrance. Just as they reached it, a loud crash came from behind them. Jun turned back. "Min needs help," he said. "Keep going. I'll catch up." Before Ji-woo could stop him, Jun ran back toward the fighting. She wanted to follow, but the weapons specialist pulled her into the tunnel. "We have to protect the research," he reminded her. "It's what Jun would want." The tunnel was dark and cold. They used flashlights to find their way through the winding passage. After what seemed like hours, they reached the exit, hidden in the forest on the other side of the mountain. As they emerged into the night air, they heard sounds of pursuit from the tunnel behind them. "They're following us," Ji-woo said. "We need to move faster." They ran through the trees, heading for the road where they had hidden emergency vehicles. When they reached the cars, Min was already there, his arm bleeding from a cut. "What happened? Where are the others?" Ji-woo asked, fear in her voice. Min's face was grim. "Lee didn't make it, and Jun—" He stopped, unable to finish. Ji-woo felt her heart sink. "He saved us," Min finally said. "When they cornered us, Jun, he cut himself. Let his blood spray on them." The aliens screamed and fell back, their skin smoking where the blood touched. "It gave us time to escape." Ji-woo fought back tears. He proved his theory correct. Human blood really does burn them. "We need to go," Min said. "More will come." They drove through the night, taking back roads to avoid detection. Ji-woo held the case with their research tightly. "Where are we going?" she asked. "I have a safe place," Min answered. "An old military bunker that few people know about. We can continue our work there." As they drove, Ji-woo thought about Jun and his sacrifice. She opened the case and looked at the vials of synthetic protein. "We can make more of this," she said. "Enough to create a defense system. Jun showed us that it works against them." Min nodded. "If more aliens are coming, we'll be ready." Far across the galaxy, Dae-yoon's scout ship approached a strange-looking space station. It wasn't like anything humans had built. It seemed to be made of many different parts joined together, as if created from salvaged pieces of other ships. "This must be the Outcast's base," Dae said. Sujin monitored the communications. "They're guiding us to a docking bay. Should we trust them?" "We don't have much choice," Dae replied. "Our fuel is low and 3 different alien fleets are hunting for humans now." The scout ship landed in a large docking bay. When the doors opened, they saw a mix of different alien species waiting for them. None looked like the Vren. Some had 4 arms, Others had scaled skin, and one type had what looked like feathers. A tall, slender alien with pale blue skin stepped forward. "Welcome, humans," it said in slightly better English than they had heard on the radio. "I am Kaleem of the Nira. We have much to discuss." "Why help us?" Day asked directly. "Everyone else seems to want us dead." "Not everyone," Kaleem replied. "The Vren and other dominant species fear you because your blood harms them, but they hide an important truth." "What truth?" Sujin asked. "For some species like mine, human blood does not burn. In fact, it has healing properties for us. The galactic powers have known this for some time but kept it secret." Dai and Sujin looked at each other in surprise. This changed everything they thought they knew. The Vren fear that an alliance between humans and persecuted species like ours would threaten their control, Kaleem continued. "That is why they rush to destroy you before you learn the truth." "So our blood is both a weapon and a medicine," Day said, "depending on the species." Kaleem nodded. "And that makes humans the most dangerous and valuable beings in the galaxy right now." The Dauntless raced through space toward Earth. Captain Hyun Lee stood on the bridge watching the stars streak by on the main screen. Dr. Jun Kim and Dr. Hana Park worked at nearby stations, still studying the blood samples. "How much longer? Until we reach Earth?" Lee asked his pilot. "About 12 hours, Captain," the pilot answered. "But there's a problem. Our sensors detect a large ship following us." Lee's face grew serious. "Show me." The screen changed to show a massive Vren battleship gaining on them. It was at least 20 times larger than the Dauntless. "They're faster than we thought," Hana said, looking up from her work. "Can we outrun them?" Lee asked. The pilot shook his head. "No, sir. They'll catch us before we reach Earth." "Then we need to warn Earth now," Lee decided. "Send all our data about the blood protein and the Vren. Include everything we've learned." "Captain," called the communications officer, "we're receiving signals from Earth. Multiple unidentified objects have entered our atmosphere. They're using some kind of stealth technology." Lee's heart sank. The invasion has already begun. In the underground bunker, Ji-woo, Min, and their small team worked frantically. They had set up a new lab using the equipment they managed to save. Jun's synthetic protein was being produced in larger quantities now. "We need a delivery system," Ji-woo said. "A way to use this protein as a defense." The weapons specialist, a woman named Sun, had an idea. "What if we create a mist? Something we can spray in the air?" "An aerosol," Ji-woo nodded. "That could work. If aliens breathe it in or it touches their skin, it would affect them." Min entered the room, his face grim. "We have reports of strange aircraft over major cities. The government is calling them experimental drones. But we know better." "How much time do we have?" Ji-woo asked. "Not much, maybe days, maybe hours." The communications expert suddenly called them over to his station. "I'm picking up a new signal from space. It's from a ship called the Dauntless. They're sending data about the aliens." They crowded around the monitor as information began to appear. Detailed scans of the Vren, analysis of the blood protein, and warnings about the coming invasion. "This confirms everything we've found," Ji-woo said. "And look, they've sent coordinates for the approaching Vren battleship." Min immediately contacted his remaining military connections, sharing the coordinates and warning them about the threat. Most were skeptical, but a few agreed to monitor the situation. As they worked to produce more of the synthetic protein and create the aerosol delivery system, Min received an urgent call. "One of my contacts at Space Command confirms it," he told the others after hanging up. "There is a massive object approaching Earth, exactly where the Dauntless said it would be. The government can't ignore this anymore." "Will they listen to our plan?" Ji-woo asked. Min hesitated. "They want us to bring our research to headquarters. They're gathering an emergency response team." "It could be a trap," Sun warned. "How do we know the aliens haven't already infiltrated the government?" "We don't," Min admitted. "But we can't fight this alone." After much debate, they decided to split their resources. Half the synthetic protein would go with Min to headquarters, while Ji-woo and Sun would continue working on the aerosol system at the bunker. "Be careful," Ji-woo told Min as he prepared to leave. "Trust no one completely." In space, the Dauntless continued its desperate race home, the Vren battleship closing in behind them. They were now close enough to Earth to see the blue planet on their screens. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth," the communications officer announced. Captain Lee braced himself for bad news. "Put it through." To everyone's surprise, it was Colonel Min Park's face that appeared on the screen. "This is Colonel Min. Park of Earth Defense. We received your data, Dauntless. We're preparing for the Vren ship's arrival." "Colonel, you need to know that the Vren aren't the only threat," Captain Lee replied. "They've sent advanced ships ahead of their main fleet." "We know," Min nodded grimly. "They've already made contact in several locations. We're developing a defense based on the blood protein you identified." As they spoke, alarms blared on the queue. "Dauntless Bridge, they're firing on us," the tactical officer shouted. The ship shook violently as the first hit struck them. Captain Lee gripped his chair to stay upright. "We're taking heavy damage. Shields failing." "Colonel, we may not make it to Earth," Lee said quickly. "But there's something else you should know. Our security chief, Dae Yoon, took a scout ship too." The transmission cut off as another blast hit the ship. Smoke filled the bridge as systems failed around them. "Engines down to 20%, the engineer reported. "One more hit like that and we're finished." Captain Lee looked at his brave crew. "Prepare to abandon ship. Get to the escape pods." As the crew rushed to evacuate, June and Hana stayed with their captain. "You should go," Lee told them. "Not without—" "You, Captain," Hana replied firmly. Before Lee could argue, a new alert sounded. The tactical officer, still at his post despite the chaos, looked up in surprise. "Sir, multiple ships just appeared between us and the Vren battleship. They're firing on the Vren." On the damaged main screen, they could see a fleet of mismatched vessels attacking the much larger Vren ship, and among them was a familiar scout ship. "It's Dae," June exclaimed. "But who are the others?" The communications officer adjusted his equipment. "We're receiving a transmission from the scout ship." Dae Yoon's face appeared on screen, looking tired but determined. "Captain, meet our new allies, the outcasts. Turns out not all aliens want us dead." Behind him stood a blue-skinned alien who stepped forward. "I am Kaleem of the Niira. We offer our assistance to humanity in this time of need." On Earth, Ji-Woo and Sun had finally completed their aerosol system. They had created devices that could spread the synthetic protein over a wide area, creating an invisible barrier against the Vren. "It's ready," Ji-Woo said, looking at the small devices with pride. "Now we just need to produce enough for major population centers." Sun's phone beeped with a message. She read it and looked up with wide eyes. "It's from Min. The military has confirmed a space battle happening in orbit. A human ship called the Dauntless is under attack by a Vren battleship, but they've been joined by friendly aliens?" "Friendly aliens?" Ji-Woo repeated in disbelief. "He says they're called outcasts, a coalition of species who also oppose the Vren. They want to meet with Earth representatives." Ji-Woo sat down, trying to process this new information. "So we're not alone in this fight after all. The message says to prepare for a meeting. The outcasts want to form an official alliance with humanity." Ji-Woo looked at their work. The synthetic protein, the aerosol devices. What had started as a desperate last stand might now be part of something much bigger. "Tell Min we'll be ready," she said, "and to make sure our new friends know about our blood, both what it can do to hurt them and how it might help them." Outside the bunker, night was falling. In the distance, strange lights moved in the sky, some belonging to the invading Vren, others to potential allies. Earth's first real contact with alien life had begun in fear, but perhaps it could end in friendship. What was clear to everyone was that humanity would never be the same again. The meeting took place on a neutral vessel in Earth's orbit. Representatives from both sides gathered around a large table. From Earth came Colonel Min Park, Dr. Ji-Woo, Captain Hyun Lee, whose injuries from the Dauntless attack had been treated, and 3 government officials. From the outcast came Kaleem of the Niira, 2 other alien species, and Security Chief Dae Yoon and Soo Jin as intermediaries. We have 24 hours before the main Vren attack force arrives, Min said, getting straight to the point. Their commander has sent an ultimatum demanding Earth's surrender and the quarantine of all humans as biological weapons. They fear you greatly, said Kaleem. His blue skin seemed to shimmer under the lights. The discovery that human blood burns their kind has upset the balance of power they've maintained for centuries. Jiwoo placed a small vial on the table. We've managed to synthesize the protein in human blood that causes the reaction. We can produce it in large quantities now. And we've developed an aerosol delivery system, she continued. It can create a defensive barrier around our cities and military bases. One of the other outcasts, a short, stocky alien with rough, bark-like skin, leaned forward. Our ships can help distribute this barrier across larger areas. Captain Lee looked skeptical. Why are you helping us? What do you gain from this alliance? Kaleem touched his chest in what seemed to be a gesture of sincerity. For too long, species like mine have been oppressed by the dominant powers. The Vren and their allies control trade routes, colonization rights, and access to resources. He then did something unexpected. He took a small knife and cut his palm. Blue blood welled up. May I? He asked, gesturing to Jiwoo's vial. She nodded, curious. Kaleem opened the vial and let a drop of the synthetic blood protein fall onto his wound. Instead of burning him, the wound began to close almost immediately. For the Nera and several other species, Kaleem explained, human blood has healing properties. The galactic powers have known this but kept it secret. They feared that if humans ever learned this truth, we would form exactly the kind of alliance we are discussing now, added the bark-skinned alien. The Earth representatives looked at each other in amazement. Their blood was not just a weapon, but also a potential gift to some species. We offer technology and ships, Kaleem said. You offer your unique biology and your planet as a safe haven for persecuted species. Together, we can stand against the Vren. After more discussion, the alliance was formed. The humans shared their defense plans while the outcasts provided details about Vren weaknesses and tactics. We have one advantage, Day said. They don't expect us to be working together. They think Earth is defenseless. Then let's use that. Surprise, Min replied. The next day, the Vren attack force arrived, a fleet of 50 ships led by a massive command vessel. They took position around Earth, their weapons ready. On the command ship, High Commander Tevik watched the blue planet on the main screen. Have the humans responded to our ultimatum? He asked a subordinate. No, Commander, their governments appear to be in chaos. Some are still denying our existence despite our ships being visible in their skies. Typical of an immature species, Tevik said dismissively. Begin landing troops at the designated points, minimal casualties if possible. We want to study their biology further. Vren transport ships descended toward major cities around the world. They expected token resistance at most. What they found instead was a well-prepared defense. As the first transport approached New York City, it encountered an invisible barrier. The ship passed through easily, but when the Vren soldiers stepped out onto Earth soil, they began to scream. Their skin blistered and smoked where it contacted the air. The atmosphere has been poisoned, one soldier reported before collapsing. Similar scenes played out across the planet. The synthetic blood protein dispersed in an invisible mist around key locations created a deadly barrier for the Vren. In orbit, Commander Tevik received the alarming reports. Impossible, he shouted, his scales flashing red with anger. They couldn't have weaponized their blood so quickly. And these deployment patterns, these are advanced tactics. Sir, another officer interrupted, we're detecting ships approaching. They're outcast vessels. Tevik's four eyes widened, in shock. The humans have allied with the outcasts? This changes everything. All ships battle stations. The space battle began in earnest. Though outnumbered, the outcast ships were faster and more maneuverable. They darted between the larger Vren vessels, focusing their fire on engines and weapon systems. From Earth, human militaries launched their own countermeasures. Missiles, fighter jets, and orbital defenses all targeted the Vren fleet. Most were easily deflected by advanced shields, but they served as distractions while the outcast ships did the real damage. On the Vren command ship, chaos reigned. Multiple systems were failing as outcast attacks found their mark. Commander, Tevik ordered a strategic withdrawal to regroup. What he didn't know was that a small infiltration team had already boarded his ship. Dae-Yoon led the mission, accompanied by Soo-Jin and 3 Nira operatives. They moved silently through the service tunnels, heading for the life support system. Almost there, Dae whispered, checking a small device that showed them the ship's layout provided by Outcast Intelligence. When they reached the central air processing unit, Soo-Jin quickly attached a device to the main console. It contained a concentrated dose of the synthetic blood protein. "Once we activate this, we have 5 minutes to get back to our ship," she warned. "Do it," Dae ordered. She pressed a button, and the device began pumping the protein into the ship's air supply. They ran back the way they came, racing against time. Throughout the Vren command ship, alarms blared as the life support systems detected contamination. But it was too late. The protein spread through the ventilation system, touching every Vren on board. Their scales blistered and peeled. Many collapsed at their stations. Commander Tevik, protected temporarily by an emergency breathing apparatus, ordered an immediate retreat. The flagship began to pull away from Earth, followed by the remaining Vren vessels. On Earth, people watched in awe as the alien ships withdrew. News of what had happened spread quickly: the alien threat, the human outcast alliance, and the strange power of human blood. In the command center where Ji Woo Min and others monitored the battle, cheers erupted as they received word of the Vren retreat. "We did it," Ji Woo said, hardly believing it herself. When Dee and his team returned safely, more celebrations followed. Captain Lee, still recovering from his injuries, shook Dae's hand with pride. "What happens now?" Hana asked the question, on everyone's mind. Kaleem, who had joined them in the command center, answered, "Now we build something new. The galaxy will never be the same after today." 3 days later, representatives from Earth met with delegates from 20 different outcast species. Together, they drafted the first interstellar treaty between humanity and alien civilizations. Earth would become a safe haven for persecuted species, while the outcasts would share their technology and knowledge. Dr. June Kim worked with alien scientists to better understand the properties of human blood, both its destructive and healing aspects. With proper research, he told colleagues, we might develop medicines that could help multiple species. As ships from friendly alien races began arriving in Earth orbit, people looked up at the night sky with new understanding. They were no longer alone in the universe, and their place in the galactic community had been established not through conquest or submission, but through an accident of biology that turned into their greatest strength. On the 1-month anniversary of what became known as First Contact Day, Captain Lee, Dr. Ji Woo, Security Chief Dae-Yoon, and Dr. Hana Park stood together on a hillside watching the sunset. Above them, the lights of alien ships twinkled like new stars. "I never imagined it would turn out like this," June said. "When my blood first burned that Vren attendant, I thought I had doomed humanity." "Instead, you helped save it," Hana replied, taking his hand. Ji Woo looked up at the darkening sky. "They came looking for an easy conquest and found something they never expected. A reminder to the galaxy," Dae added with a smile, "that sometimes the most ordinary things about us can be the most extraordinary when seen through different eyes." As night fell completely, more lights appeared in the sky, Earthships and outcast vessels patrolling together, protecting their shared new beginning. Human blood, once just a simple part of human biology, had become both a shield and a bridge to a future none of them could have imagined. The day aliens discovered human blood burns every species had become the day humanity found its place among the stars.